And good morning, Your Honor. For the record, Brendan Dabalski appearing on behalf of Monique Cook, who's seated next to me. Ms. Cook, please state your name for the record.
Monique Cook.
Thank you.
Yes, this defendant is back again to try and get her plea right this time. Maybe she will plead guilty and take responsibility. We can hope.
For sentencing today, the court adjourned this matter at the last hearing because Ms. Cook made representations at the plea stage that were, in this court's opinion, not true. And the court wanted to look back at the videos in this case to find out whether the court believed that Ms. Cook had misrepresented or in fact lied to the court at the plea stage. She severely understated what occurred on that particular date. I have had a chance to review those documents, and I believe they were sent to you as well. Is that correct?
I have not received them, Your Honor. First and foremost, Ms. Cook retained my services back on January 9th this year. So this is my only opportunity that I've had to appear on her behalf. However, I had talked to Ms. Cook from the very beginning when she was originally charged, even though I was never retained. I do recall seeing a video that she had shared with me. And please forgive me because the incident was back in September.
That's okay.
September 17th, if my memory serves me correctly. I did watch the video. I recall her and I have talked numerous times about this situation. And I would like to move forward as with she does want to apologize for what had transpired before. Like I had indicated, I was never here to, witness what had happened based on the conversations I've had with Ms. Cook. I told her, I said, look, I don't know if it was my understanding that the court may not accept the plea. I know that she did plea on it, but I don't know if it was going to be withdrawn. She had indicated that she just wanted to move forward with the sentencing if the court would do so.
It's not a matter of the court not accepting the plea. It's a matter of whether I'm going to give her jail time for misrepresenting to me what happened on that day and not accepting responsibility for her actions in this case. In reviewing the video, I reviewed the video from the time that she went upstairs. I watched the body cam. I watched four videos, two dash cam, two body cam videos of this incident. And her behavior that day was completely and totally out of control. I understand that she was upset that people were at her home and potentially inside of her home that she didn't want there. But when she arrived, her behavior in the very beginning was disturbing. She had to be held back by a police officer. She then ran upstairs, hit her daughter, and then when it was time to leave, she threw a fit because she didn't have her car placed where it was supposed to be placed. She basically said she was going to tell the judge exactly what she was telling them that day. Her behavior was atrocious.
May I address that, Your Honor?
You may.
Your Honor, we've had an opportunity, like I said, to discuss this many times. And I think the first thing that needs to be said is that she's very remorseful. This was a very costly lesson for Ms. Cook. She's embarrassed to be in this situation. This is not indicative of the type of behavior that she typically displays. As a matter of fact, Your Honor, you can look back and the one thing you will see that there's no prior assaultive convictions on Ms. Cook's record. It's not who she is. I don't want to get in the facts of this case because she had already pled on this case, Your Honor. However, the one thing, just because the court made light of it, I briefly just want to kind of go through. And I'm not trying to justify her actions whatsoever. She knows that she was wrong, and she'll be the first one to tell you that if given an opportunity to take back, or if given an opportunity to change what happened, she would have. I mean, if the situation, hopefully a situation like that never presents itself again. But I think she's learned a lot how to channel her anger and frustration. The one thing I will say that none of us were privy to at the time was the fact, because I asked her, I said, tell me all about what had happened. And I was trying to gain some insight as to what she was really thinking at the time, because she was very upset. And I think your words that it was unacceptable is absolutely right. But she's not a bad person by any means. Did she overreact? Yes, she did. You have to understand, she has two daughters. First of all, Ms. Cook is 40. Can I execute a little bit on her behalf right now?
You can.
Ms. Cook is 43 years old. She resides here in Ypsilanti. She has two daughters. She has a 27-year-old and she has a 17-year-old who's the daughter and who's the victim in this case. That daughter's name is Leah, okay? According to the PSI, Leah's father, Lee Young, if my memory serves me correctly, was the one that spoke to the probation officer for the pre-sentence interview, okay? They didn't speak to Leah herself. They spoke to Mr. Young. Mr. Young and Ms. Cook have had a contentious relationship for a very long time, every bit of 17 years. Leah had lived with Mr. Young for a period of time. It was on and off, but right before this incident, Leah had been residing with Ms. Cook here in Ypsilanti. She had been there for almost 2 years. Prior to that, Leah, when she was living with her father, wasn't doing very well in school. She just wasn't acting, the best. They agreed that a change of a change in scenery, her moving out to Ypsilanti may be in her best interest. Once she came to Ypsilanti, she enrolled in school out here. Ms. Cook had indicated to me that she became an honor roll student because she was almost failing out in West Bloomfield. That's where her father lives, and that's where she's residing now, West Bloomfield. She became an honor roll student. She started, getting her grades up, and that should be attributed to the way Ms. Cook ran her household. She was very adamant that Leah, put her best effort in as far as it goes, or as far as it relates to her studies and trying to be the best person. Now, she's not saying she was the best role model on that date in question, because clearly she wasn't. Her behavior was embarrassing. But when Ms. Cook was at work, and that leads me to the next thing, she's been working at Smart Bus for over a year now. She drives a Smart Bus. And there was a disagreement about Leah leaving to go live back with her father, and she was going to take all the clothing that Ms. Cook had provided for Leah out of her house. And she said no. As the report indicates, Ms. Cook had noticed that Leah was there along with Mr. Young. They were removing belongings from the house. Ms. Cook called the police.
I'm aware.
And so when she got home, she saw all that. She was upset. She felt like she worked very hard to put Leah in that situation to better herself. She wanted to become a productive member of society, and she thought back about what had transpired before Leah was living with Ms. Cook, and she didn't want that situation to repeat herself. And she didn't also want Leah to take the belongings that she worked so hard to provide for her daughter to her father's house. Well, of course, she overreacted. I think obviously stress in the moment. She was upset. I think a lot had to do with the fact that she knew her daughter was leaving her home, which upset her more than anything. And so she was completely overreacted, and she acted in a way most people should never act. However, moving forward, she acknowledges that she should never, ever, ever react like that again. She knows what she should do if a situation like that ever presents herself. Matter of fact, since this incident happened, there's been a no contact order with Leah. She hasn't been able to speak with her. She gets called. Matter of fact, she showed me in the hallway, she had her cell phone. She gets calls from West Bloomfield High School, where Leah's enrolled at. Leah's always missing school. She didn't come to school, but she can't do anything with that. That's between Leah and her father right now. She does want the best for her daughter. Her other daughter, who's 27, is going through orientation. She's going to be a guard actually at the Huron Valley Women's Correctional Facility. She's never had any problems with her. She knows that she is facing jail time. She hopes that Your Honor does not give her jail time. Hopefully you can give her an opportunity to prove to this court that she just overreacted and she didn't.
This is beyond what she did that day, because what she did that day, first offense, that's, people make mistakes. They react improperly. When she came to court, we had a long plea because she refused to acknowledge what she did to her daughter. She refused to, she told me that she kicked the door And she didn't know whether the door hit her daughter or not. When in fact, what she did was she opened up the door. She may have kicked it. She went inside. I physically saw her lift her hand and hit her daughter. Now, I can't say whether it was a closed fist or an open fist, but you can see that in the video. And in addition to that, the officer told her numerous times on that day that she was supposed to use her voice and not do anything else. She chose to use her hands. And then when she had the opportunity to just say what she did, she gave this court, the prosecutor, and took up, I don't know how much time with that, but it didn't stop there. Then she goes to her pre-sentence investigation report, and this is what she says, according to the agent. She does not know why she is being put on probation for this case when she did nothing wrong. She explained that she would do probation and pay, but that is all she is going to do. She was defiant up and until her probation interview about this situation. So I take it that she doesn't understand what she's doing wrong. And what this court is saying to her about doing wrong, she doesn't accept. Now, you're a good attorney, did a great job allocuting on her behalf, but her behavior belies everything you're saying about her understanding this.
May I address it?
Yes.
And Your Honor, obviously you personally have seen the videos and you were present. I can't say that I was present because I wasn't. I can only take Ms. Cook as the person I know through our conversations, our meetings. And I can tell you this, I think we would all agree that I probably know Ms. Cook better throughout those because I've had an opportunity to get to know her one-on-one. Obviously, it's impossible for the court and prosecutor and, you know, her old attorney to do that because there's such a high volume of cases and the court doesn't necessarily do that, interject themselves into the person's life who come walk into the courtroom. I've been doing this 17 plus years, and I think that I'm a very good judge of character. And what I mean by that, I think that the person that came to see me and the person that's sitting next to me, I think based on our conversations, I would know if it's just lip service. And I believe the court, from what I'm gathering, thinks it's just lip service, but I'm asking the court to give her an opportunity. I think she knows, and like I said, we've talked candidly. I said, look, they're going to order you to do certain things. And Ms. Cook, most people, almost everybody that gets sentenced to probation doesn't want to do certain things that the court orders them to do. However, their own actions put them there in court. And I said, you know, probation isn't a given. You know, the court can easily just wash its hands clean and sentence you up to, you know, whatever. Well, in this case, it's up to 1 year in jail. I said, you have to earn the court's trust on probation, okay? Because it's easier. Let's face it, Judge, it's easier for you to say, you know what, Ms. Cook, it's 1 year in jail, wash your hands clean, you're done. You don't have to deal with her, you max her out. I'm asking you to give her an opportunity to prove that what you saw is not the person that she really is. And it's not because she's fake or whatnot. It's because I think having me being able to explain things to her and kind of assure her that, look, the court's not against you. There's certain things that it's designed to do. They want to, number one, see if there's an issue. And if there's an issue, they want to set some type of, plan in place to make sure that a situation like this never presents itself again. Lower the recidivism rate. And I think that Ms. Cook is willing to do, matter of fact, I'm not saying I think she is. I know she's willing to do anything the court orders her to do. What I'm doing is asking the court to take a chance on her and give her the probationary period, because Judge, if you do incarcerate her, she will lose her job that she's worked so hard to get. She drives people. They drug and alcohol test her. She said every week they do a urinalysis. Once a month, they do a blood test, and she also takes PBTs through SmartBus. She's clearly in compliance, because if she ever tested positive for any of those, her employment would have been terminated.
I don't believe that would ever be an issue with her. That's not what I'm concerned about.
I would ask.
You know what I am concerned about is we have a situation with a family who is in discord at this time. We have a young lady who is trying to figure out who she is, where she's going in her life. We have a mom who, I had kids. We've been raised a certain way and we feel like we have certain rights. We brought them into this world and we have a right to do what it is that we have a right to do with those children. I understood why she did what she did get her in trouble. The fact that was at that time unable to understand why she's here and what the next best steps are for her and for that child, and her misrepresentations to this court is what I had the problem with. I've let you talk a lot. I'm gonna allow the prosecutor to respond at this time and I'll give you more time.
Sure.
Okay. Ms. McDuffie.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, one, I understand that counsel he was retained a little while ago. I did send an email to the court and copied him to ensure that he got the video, but it sounds like he's seen enough and doesn't necessarily need to review that for today's purposes. I always raise an eyebrow, at the least, when I hear a defendant or somebody say on their behalf that this is not who she is. I understand that she has no prior assaultive convictions. But when somebody is telling themselves that they're not the type of person that will behave a certain way, to me, that interferes with their ability to understand that they are the person who did behave that way on that day, on at least that day. And it keeps you from taking full accountability for the effects of your behavior on other people that are impacted by that they hurt. The police, to some extent, and obviously her daughter and the whole family relationship and dynamic that's there and that could or should be there, perhaps. I understand that based on her attorney, Mr. Dabolsky's allocution on her behalf, that it sounds like Ms. Cook wants, to some extent, some credit. Maybe not credit, but she wants the court to understand and acknowledge the positive things that her daughter has accomplished because of the environment that she feels like she created for her. So then I would have to, in turn, ask, what does Ms. Cook think the environment was on the day of this incident that she created for her daughter? And what does she expect that outcome to be? Because the court mentioned actually on the date of our original sentencing, not just concerns with everything that we talked about, but even concerns with her filing a false police report, given that she knew who it was that was in her home and out of her anger for seeing them there, called the police to report essentially a break-in or burglary or something of that nature, home invasion. And she was stopped from talking at that last hearing because she was actually starting to put a factual basis for that offense, which was not charged, on the record for exactly that. When she, started to talk about how she had told the daughter to not come over yet. And so we stopped her from further implicating herself there. Ms. Cook has shown us who she is to some extent with the consistency in her behavior between the incident that then continued to the plea and then to her interview. We've had 3 different occasions to see who she is. I believe 100% that Ms. Cook is willing to do anything that the court orders now, because this is always a time and place where defendants promise to do that when they're in person and facing jail time. There's always a complete 180 of compliance and humility and apologies and I'll do anything you ask of me. I didn't mean to do that, which translation, please don't make me go to jail. And the question that I have is obviously, would we have heard any of that? Because we didn't, right, before. Would we heard any of that when she arrived to her original sentencing date and had said she didn't do anything wrong and didn't see the problem? And that she was very clear about having no intentions to comply with what probation ordered. I share the court's concern, obviously. I'm still not sure that Ms. Cook gets it. I know that Ms. Cook wants to avoid the consequences of the behavior that she's shown us repeatedly, but I still don't know that she gets it and that she's still not in her mind thinking that what we heard on the day of the plea was she called me a bitch and I don't play that. So yes, I did that. The court's original concern of, does she think that because she is the parent that she gets to behave this way? I don't know that that's something that's any different than where we started. In terms of jail time, I think that in many cases, jail time is a wake-up call to show a defendant, if nothing else, this is not where you want to be. And I'm sure she knows that. But to make it very clear, the maximum penalty for this offense, if it were to be 10 days, is 355 more of those. So I'm not opposed to some upfront jail. It doesn't have to be necessarily lengthy. It could be, right? A few days. When it comes to jail time, you know, there's kind of a minimum. You can't have, it's not a one-day trip. I think, you know, whatever the amount of time is, that would make it clear to somebody that you are here and you're going to be here for a moment. 3 showers, 3 meals, knowing that I have to eat here, I have to bathe here. This is really where I am and I have to deal with this and I don't want to ever come back here again. Whatever that amount of time is sufficient, I think, would be in this case, to make it very clear. Not only was the behavior unacceptable that day, but it wasn't just a one-off. There's been multiple opportunities to see and say, I was wrong. I shouldn't have behaved that way. I understand that I was wrong. I hope I learned from this. I'm open to whatever the court. Some people are able to do that at sentencing. That didn't happen here. We didn't get it until we had a consequence that went with that. So I leave it to the court, but I would agree that maybe there needs to be some sort of recognition that it's not just being able to come before the court and tell a good story, a convincing story about why she shouldn't have to go to jail, but to understand exactly what it means to go there and why she doesn't ever want to go back.
All right. I will allow you to speak and then I will speak with your client.
Just briefly, Your Honor, because I know she wants to address the court as well. First and foremost, I know everyone referenced to, you know, what there was the date that this incident happened and then subsequent to that date. I wasn't present for either date, okay, or any of the dates. I can't tell you what happened between herself and the court at the last date when she was when it was scheduled for sentencing, and even at the pretrial date. I wasn't her attorney. I know what was said to me, and I'm not going to speculate or even relay those conversations because that was what my client indicated to me. I do know that, like I told you from the very beginning, she is remorseful, and it's not because she's just trying to avoid jail. She's embarrassed to be in this position, Your Honor. This is an individual. I know the court has some concerns whether or not she's being truthful or not about this whole situation. But also, let me remind this court, I think you have to take the totality of the circumstances as a whole to determine whether or not the person's being honest, and look at the person's, you know, traits to determine whether or not if the person's being truthful. First and foremost, nobody wants to go to jail unless they're facing prison time. Let's be honest. She's not facing prison time, but she is facing up to a year in jail. But at the same time, she's not. Some things were done incorrectly. What was said to the court, and it appears, you know, she'll be able to explain that. But what I'm saying is that she still appears here voluntarily. It's not like she's totally blown off the court and just not, you know.
I didn't think she would do that.
Yeah, she wants to get this matter finished and put it behind her because it's created a lot of stress in her life, and she knows. She's not saying it was my daughter, it was the court, it was the police that put me in this situation. She's, like I said, we've had multiple discussions.
That right there is the change that we have not seen until now. That right there, because she has always been very clear that she did nothing wrong. She can't figure out why she's here.
Well, I can't speculate on what was said before because I have
I'm
no
not asking
knowledge,
you to
Your Honor.
speculate.
I'm the
I'm
one,
telling you what happened.
right? And I know you're being truthful, but all I'm saying is this court, the prosecutor, the victim in this case, nobody was privy to the conversations that I've had with Ms. Cook, and we've talked about it. All I'm saying, Your Honor, is I'm asking this court to give her one chance, and she knows she's on very, very thin ice. And this court's going to require her to do a lot of things if it does give her a chance. But I'm asking this court, in all fairness, to give her that chance. I've spoken in a long time. I know the court's probably tired of hearing me. I will let Ms. Cook talk before I turn it over to Your Honor. Oh, can I be, because I'll be done, can I just address the corrections on the PSI, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
Okay, it appears that they only give her credit for 1 day, but it was 2 calendar days that she was in jail. So I would ask the court to consider it 2 days in jail.
Any response from the prosecutor?
In terms of the correction of time already served for 2 days, no objection to that.
Thank you.
The sentencing date, which is on the PSI, Your Honor, I think it said 1/4. Obviously, it was adjourned, but today it should reflect the correct date.
Correct.
And then, other than that, Your Honor, I think that was, oh, I have one question. It was my understanding when I spoke to her prior attorney that this was going to be taken under advisement. That's what he had indicated to me on the phone.
Oh, 1 second, let me see here.
Okay.
Yeah, it's supposed to be 18 months probation under deferred.
Okay, I didn't see the
Yes.
deferred sentence
Yes.
Recommended, but other than that, that was the only corrections I had to make. Thank you for making those corrections. Ms. Cook, this will be your opportunity to address the board.
Before we do any
I'm sorry.
objection to any of the corrections that council just indicated, Ms. McDuffie,
No objection.
anything else you want to say before I hear allocution from Ms. Cook? You're muted.
Sorry about that. I was reminded, I think by Agent Johnson that this term doesn't necessarily, what is the maximum term?
Maximum sentence on a child abuse
Uh,
or the
For-
maximum?
probationary term. I think that this
I
was,
think it's 2 years, but I'll ask Ms. Johnson, who's the probation agent.
Child abuse can be up to 5 years.
Thank you.
so just that, yeah, I was reminded about that. And if the court found it, if the court saw fit to adjust that length of time as well, I would have no objection to it.
Well, she does have a plea agreement for the 18 months, so I'm not gonna, at this point, adjust that unless we find that it's necessary later.
Mhm.
My concern here is not to punish Ms. Cook. My concern here is to try to create a young lady who can be successful in life in the future. And she can't do that with a mom who is being defiant and not understanding how her actions may be contributing to her daughter's inability to be the best person she could be. And sometimes, because of our upbringing, because of the way we were raised, I was raised in the South, I know you're supposed to be able to do whatever you need to do to get your child right. And sometimes the way we were raised is what is a detriment to our own children. And her defiance throughout this process to the opportunity that is being provided to her is what has her here today. So having said that, Ms. Cook, what would you like to say?
Then I'd like to tell you that I'm sorry for how I reacted during court. That I do take full responsibility for the things I do. And I do try to be the best here. I do. And it was unacceptable for how I was acting. I was hurt. I was really hurt because I've been a mother since I was 15. And I didn't want my kids to make the same mistakes I made. So I be hard on them to tell them that education and working. And I try to show them from the mistakes that I made in life. So yeah, I was upset. I was real upset. I was hurt more than anything. I was hurt. And I do take full responsibility because that's not me.
Well, beyond that, ma'am, there's a control factor that you have. And I don't know if it's just in this situation or not. And I get it. I have it too. But at some point in time, for you to be the best mom that you can be, you've got to address your own issues too. And your daughter is now a young lady making some decisions on her own. And the way you guide her now has to look very different than what it did before. And as much as we would like to believe that we could go outside and get that switch and still beat our kids and create what we want, you can't do that anymore.
See,
And not only that, but we don't know if it was ever the right thing to do in the first place. We were just taught that it was. We were taught I brought you into this world, I'll take you out. That is not necessarily what was the right thing to do then. And we can say, you know, we got beaten now, I turned out well, but every individual child is different. And you've got to learn how to be the best parent for this child. Your other child might be doing great, and the way you handled that child may be wonderful. But with this child, that might not be it. So sometimes we have to change to be the better parent in a different way for that child than we did the other. Our cookie, this is what I have to do here. Our cookie cutter process to how we handle people is not working in this system, and that's why I try to devise a program that works for each person. It doesn't work with children either. So you're not here because of what you did, you're here because throughout the whole process, you just wouldn't get it. You just remained defiant. You just kept on thinking, I'm right, she's wrong. I don't know why I'm here. You're not right. You were wrong.
I was wrong. I was wrong.
I'm gonna give you a chance. But I want you to take advantage of this opportunity, and I want you to figure out how to be the best parent you can for this daughter of yours so that she can be successful in life. Because having a negative relationship with your mother is always going to affect you.
It hurts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sure it hurts you.
they do.
It looks like you got your mom here trying to support you today. Because she knows how important it is.
I'm sorry, but it hurt because her birthday was on the 6th. I couldn't even call her.
Right.
I ain't never not seen her or talked to her for a long period of time. And it hurts. That's my name. It hurts. Yeah, I'm hurt. I'm very hurt about it.
Well, it sounds like you need to figure out some things. How to deal with your anger, how to deal with how you relate to people. You had a police officer standing out there telling you to behave differently, and you thought you were going to tell them what to do.
Yes, ma'am.
You came in here and you told me what happened. I honestly was believing you that you didn't do this. You want to know how your case became so prevalent to me? It's because I was believing you. So that made me look into it further to see what was going on and to discover that you were so out of control. You can't do that. You got to get it together. There's a sentence of this court that you were on probation for 18 months. Fines and court costs in this case for a total of $625, $30 per month and probation oversight fee. You must meet with probation when and where directed, including any and all home visits. You must make earnest efforts to maintain legitimate employment. You must complete the ABR Anger Habits Program. Okay, that is to deal with your anger. And I understand that it looks like CPS didn't get involved, but I'm trying to remember with the parenting classes, do they actually, is there a, Ms. Johnson, do you know if there's a parenting class that deals with teenagers as opposed to just your standard parenting classes? Because parenting classes, from what I recall, the basics aren't what she needs. It's the more in-depth program. And I don't know if ABR would deal with her in the way she relates the people as a whole, but she needs to have a class that deals with that parenting and child relationship piece of it.
So there's not one that I can think of specifically, but I think we can sit down and find a program that would meet her specific needs.
Okay. And it may be counseling for her initially and then them together, if we could get to that stage.
Your Honor.
I think we can find something for her that would work out for her and her daughter.
Okay. Yes, Ms. McDuffie.
It's not specifically targeted for this relationship and this purpose, but I could also offer that the same peacemaking circles that we refer people to for the restorative justice program are a general resource that could be ordered, I think, in any case.
Yeah. Well, let's let Ms. Johnson look into that with her and try to figure this out, whether it's the peacemaking or whether it's counseling, maybe counseling and then peacemaking. But she wants to do what's right. She's just confused about what that is. So I hope we can get there with that. There's no assaultive or threatening behavior towards anyone, including your daughter, okay? Submit to and pay for random drug and alcohol tests as requested by the probation department. None are being requested at this time. No use of possession of alcohol, marijuana, illegal drugs, drug paraphernalia, and or firearm components, ammunition, or dangerous weapons. Ma'am, you have a total of 365 days plus 2 days credit. I'm going to suspend the balance of that jail time. But if I find out that you're not getting it, you're not understanding it, I rarely make people come in for first offenses, and I rarely look into them at this detail, so I won't forget. So please do what you're supposed to do. And I think you want to have a good relationship with your daughter.
I do.
It takes some work on your part too, okay? And never say to a police officer in a car, I'll tell the judge that. That's not gonna work in your favor, okay?
I won't be back in a police car.
Okay.
So that will never happen again.
That's good.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right.
I'm not no trouble person, so
And,
that'll never happen.
and this is all under the deferred program, so if you do what you're supposed to do, it will not be on your record,
Yes, ma'am.
okay? So please do that. And I will see you back here on May 16th, 2024 at 10, and that'll be on Zoom, okay?
Is that with me or
If
without?
that's between the two of you.
Okay, I didn't know what every course
Yeah.
different as what's required and whatnot.
Well, it is not required, but we do request that you file a withdrawal if in fact you know will not be coming back.
Is this a review hearing to make sure that she's in compliance with probation?
Correct, and that will be before me.
I'll be back with her. Can I just have that date again one time, Your Honor? I'm sorry.
May 16th at 10.
Your Honor, if Ms. Cook wishes to stick around, we can go over her contract today before she leaves.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Please stay here, ma'am, and go over the contract with the probation agent so that we can make sure you're on the right page with everything. And we can try to create the appropriate program for you and hopefully at some point your daughter too, okay?
Is it still no contact with my daughter?
We did not address that. Ms. Johnson, with respect to the contact, do you want that to be no contact or no unwanted contact? Or do you want her to do some programming first and then do that?
I'll leave it in the court's discretion. If the school is contacting her, I don't want her to not be able to communicate with the school in regards to her daughter. So what, I'll leave it in your discretion, Your Honor.
All right, I'm gonna make it no unwanted contact. So what that means is if your daughter says she no longer wants to talk to you, then you gotta hang up.
Okay.
I don't want to place any parent in the position of the daughter having ultimate control, but I do want to ensure that she's safe. And it's a very difficult thing to be able to do, given the circumstances. So I'm gonna need you to listen, okay, and not. If she says she doesn't want the contact at this time, please
I respect
that, okay? All right,
Thank you, Your Honor.
you're welcome. And ma'am, I wish you nothing but the best, okay? All right.
I'll wait in here or out.
No, you can wait in the hallway. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.